kids, it's your old buddy, Dusty Dangerson. Now kids, what do we tell someone who comes around asking for our guns? That's right, kids. We tell them, no sir, you are a class traitor and an enemy of the revolution. You best get out of here before I turn it on you. Out here in the Wild West, we can't just go around giving our guns away. We go around giving our guns away, they're going to turn them right on us like this. Now kids, don't do this. I'm telling you, do not point a Nerf gun at your face. That's how my grandpappy died.
Hey guys, my name's Hunter and this is my channel, The Mutual Revolt. And today I want to talk about anarchists and their position on gun control in general. Heads up, we're not fans of it, we're not. Anarchists perceive the government as the monopoly of violence within a class society. As anarchists oppose the hierarchy and privilege within a class society, logically they oppose this monopoly of violence which enforces these internal values. While anarchists may not advocate a revolution or overthrowing the government today, the right to do so is always valid. As a general rule, we're opposed to disarming the population any further, as that would make revolution more difficult. On an ethical level, we uphold the right of an individual to defend themselves by whatever means necessary and as they see fit so as to secure their life and liberty. As such, guns are entirely legitimate for an individual to own as long as they do not threaten or initiate force against a non-aggressor. So, just to be brief, giving up your guns to the government is entirely crazy to anarchists. Just so we're clear. Also, we are deep in bed with the NRA. I mean, how can you spell NRA without nuclear rifle wielding anarchists? Wait, there's a W there. Then who keeps sending me these checks? Now I know immediately I'll have some progressives ask why we shouldn't try and mitigate gun violence like we did in Australia and the UK. And here's the thing, it's not wrong to say that those countries did see decreased murder rates after they regulated guns further. However, I'd say this is mistaking the forest for the gun. I mean trees. Guns are necessary for gun violence as well as mass shootings. However, just boiling it down to the weapons used avoids having to deal with the complex factors also at work, such as the increased social alienation of the youth, a disintegrating community, a poor economy, as well as a lack of resources for the mentally ill and those who are neurodivergent. While they're not the weapons used, these factors are incredibly important in understanding violence and how it spreads. Also, there's no guarantee that in countries like the United States, gun bans wouldn't just help the black market, making them more violent and extreme, while just pushing the violence out of sight of decent society. In just the last few months, London has seen a spike in murders by knives. So much so that the mayor of London has virtually banned all knives off the streets of London. So yeah, there is your slippery slope for you. Today they're coming for your AK, tomorrow they're coming for your cutlery.
Hey kids, this is the part of the show I like to call our obscene profit raking. And boy have I got a treat for you. Our sponsors are selling 100% genuine fermented capitalist blood. With just a glass of this blood, you will be able to debate your progressives, your conservatives, that shitty guy Larry who keeps saying, who will build the roads? I'm watching you, Larry. I have with me today a delicious fermented blood from Steve Jobs circa 2011. With just a few drops of this down your gizzard, you'll be able to deal with all the political hysterics of the sheeple around you. For just $9.99, you can pre-order your own delectable Mark Zuckerberg fermented blood, while supplies last. To order, just call 1-800-GUILLOTINE the Bourgeoisie. Again, that is 1-800-GUILLOTINE the Bourgeoisie. And tell them Dusty sent you.
What? Half this video is pointed at progressives who think that they're radical and edgy by asking the government, led by Donald, I thought he was a fascist Trump, to further restrict their gun ownership rights. Also, Steve has like a really good bouquet. Leave me alone. I don't need your judgment. Anyways. One of the biggest problems with progressives and their desire for gun control is the amnesia they seem to have about how such regulations and bans were used in the past. Be it black codes in the South used to disarm black people, or martial law used to disarm striking workers, the history of the US shows that such laws will harm those that are already disadvantaged. As the anarchist writer Kevin Carson puts it, regardless of the liberal or progressive rhetoric defending gun control, you can bet it'll fall down harder on the cottagers than the gentry, harder on the workers than the Pinkertons, and harder on the Black Panthers than on racist cops. And honestly, this gets to the heart of the issue. While progressives want to help oppressed minorities, they tend to push for solutions and approaches that further empower the government and centralize authority. Unfortunately, progressives tend to think of the government basically as a magic wand, and that if it were only properly democratically controlled, it would be ideal. Of course, this is not the history of the government, and to expect it to suddenly start acting accordingly is probably pretty utopian, even more so than wanting to get rid of it entirely, but I digress. Now, I've taken a lot of shots at progressives, so let's talk about conservatives and fascists. Conservatives actually aren't so bad on this issue, except they're okay with the barring of individuals from having guns because of a criminal record, even if they're non-violent, which we gotta work on. However, fascists are the reason why progressives and leftists should oppose gun control legislation, period. Now, I don't know if you guys are aware of how fragmented the politics in this country are. Things are a little extreme. Heck, that's why I'm able to make a video on YouTube about anarchy. Now, I know there are a lot of people that also think things are going to be okay, and they're going to get better, and I just don't know if I buy that. Now, the alt-right is in decay right now, but it only usually takes a major war or economic depression for things to swing backwards. I don't know if we want to risk the right to arms to the people when, if the Mueller investigation goes poorly, we will be in a constitutional crisis with a government that Trump has installed. It would probably be a bad idea to surrender our guns before we know how this is going to go. Also, trying to repeal the Second Amendment would probably be one of the surest ways to a civil war. I mean, do you really think Texas is going to give up their guns? Or the South in general? I entertain the idea of revolution, and I think that's crazy! Now, of course, there will be others who challenge the idea that an armed population is of any consequence against a megalithic army such as the United States Army. My response to that is just because an army is strong and effective, that doesn't mean it succeeds. If we look at Vietnam or the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, we can see that long-term victory has proven almost impossible because of the asymmetric nature of the opponent. I'm not saying anyone needs to go picking a fight with the US Army, but the idea that an armed population can't withstand a foreign invasion simply isn't backed up by the last 40 years of warfare. Now, the point of this video is not to dismiss victim and survivor stories, or their feelings and emotions on the subject. Anarchists agree that the murder of kids and teens is horrible, and we need to work to eradicate this from happening. However, we think that before we talk about the weapons used and their availability, we have a lot of other stuff to talk about that's closer to the roots of the violence itself. I hope I haven't offended anyone too severely, but instead you at least see where this position is coming from. We don't have to agree, but there are valid arguments for why we should be suspicious and opposed to more gun control measures. And now you know. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, or at least enjoyed something out of it. If you want to see more material, like, subscribe, and probably hit that little bell button too. Remember, under no pretext should arms and ammunition be surrendered. Any attempt to disarm the workers must be frustrated, by force if necessary. Have a great week, comrades. Until next time.
Well, that's all, kids. Now what did we learn today? That's right. Do not give up your gun until your hands are cold and dead. And even then, grip it hard with your reanimated zombie corpse hands and fight till the end. Yeah? Okay, Mr. Hollywood producer, let me see that. The FBI is on their way. Well, guess that means it's time for me to head on out, y'all. Now y'all come back now, you hear?